friends, Krista here. Thank you so much for stopping by Books and Jams. It's time to take a look at my reading goals for the year and see how I am doing. I like to take a minute in the midway point of the year. I think I did this in the quarter point of the year as well with the quarter year freakout tag, whatever that was. But the mid-year book freakout tag, I did it last week or the week before. And I love that for taking a look at the specific books I'm reading. Today, what I want to do is get into my reading journal, look at my goal page for the year and see how I am doing on the specific goals that I set for myself this year. I had 7 goals and then a couple different challenges that I wanted to work on this year for 2022. But before I even dive into anything, I wanted to just talk about overall my reading and also say that I hold my goals very lightly. If you've been around here for a while, you know that I do not believe in pressure when it comes to reading. This is a hobby for me and most of you. It is not my job. So I do not allow my goals that I've set for the year to add any additional pressure to my reading life. I do enjoy having a goal. I like having something to work towards. But if it starts to be something that stresses me out, I'm totally fine with laying them down and not completing them. There's no consequences. If I reach my goals or not this year, it doesn't matter to anybody, me or you or anyone else. It doesn't matter. So I like to have goals because I think it's fun. I like to have a challenge, but I hold it lightly. I encourage you to have kind of the same mindset if you're able to, because it's just more fun that way. Overall this year, my Goodreads says that I have read 93 books so far this year, but my reading checklist says that I've read 97. So clearly, or my spreadsheet, I mean, clearly I need to go and see what I forgot to put into the 2022 folder on Goodreads. That's where I was looking, and that's where my number is 93. So I need to go through and compare those two lists and see what I forgot to add in there, but somewhere between 93 and 97. No, I have about 92% fiction and almost 8% nonfiction, which tracks. I don't read a ton of nonfiction. I will say I've been listening to a lot more audiobooks this year. 67.4% of my reading has been on audio and 30 in print, and then 2.3 in multiple formats where I use both the audio and the print. 51% adult, 46% middle grade, and 2% YA. That seems very accurate. And then 32% general fiction, which includes kind of contemporaries or ones that don't fit in the next couple categories, which my next biggest genre category is historical fiction, which is 14%, fantasy, which is 11%, Keeper of the Lost Cities. Romance is 14% as well. Interesting that romance is the same as historical. Classics is at 7%, mysteries at 7%. So a little mixture. I've been reading a little bit of everything, and that feels right. So every year, for the last couple of years, I've kind of done my goals the same way. I have 7 this year that I wrote down here, and we're just going to go through them one by one and see how I'm doing. So the first one up at the top is read 12 book of the month. I've read 3. That's it. Piranesi was 1. I Must Betray You and Perfect Little World are the only 3 book of the month books that I have read this year. So in looking at this, that is one of the goals I really would like to work on. I have a lot of unread book of the month books, a lot on my recommendations cart, and a lot up on my shelf. So I would like to make some more progress on that. It's possible that I can still get 12 for sure by the end of the year. I just have to work them into my reading a little bit more often. The next goal was to read 20 series, books that are in series. So I did go through today with Goodreads. Now that I'm realizing that it's off from my spreadsheet, I might need to do it again, but I have this couple pages in my journal of all the series that I am in the middle of, that I have started. Actually, some I haven't even started yet, but I know that I want to, like the Flavia de Luce series, and the Chronicles of Prydain is a middle grade series I'd like to read. Some are totally finished and they don't need to be on this anymore, so I may need to update my series tracker. But in going through the list of books that I've read this year, all the yellows are ones from this year, and I did not count starting series. So I read the first in the Wingfeather Saga, and I'm not counting that one because it starts a series. So reading books that are continuing series, I've done 14 this year. I read 2 in the Land of Stories. I read another Outlander book. I've read 4 Keeper of the Lost Cities books. I read Out of My Heart, which is the sequel to Out of My Mind. I read I read Well Matched, which is the 3rd book in the Well Met series. I read Sense and Second Degree Murder, which is the sequel to Pride and Premeditation. I read Isn't It Bromantic, the 4th in the Bromance Book Club series. I read Shadow of the Bird, which is the sequel to Girl and the Galdurian in the Lightfall series. I read Yours Cheerfully, which is a sequel to Dear Mrs. Bird. And I read Finley Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 14. I'm very pleased with that because I was not thinking that I was doing so great with series. I even said that, I think, in my live last night. But 14 out of 20 is doing pretty good. I'm very pleased with that. My 3rd goal was to increase my NetGalley percentage. I started the year at 36%. Right now, today, I'm at 41%. So I am headed in the right direction as long as I continue to not request too many books and continue to read books that are on that NetGalley, on those NetGalley shelves, then I should be good with that. Most of the ones that I request on NetGalley are my anticipated reads as well. So hopefully I'm getting to those books because I'm really excited for them. So I will continue to make progress on that. It would be awesome if I could be at 50% by the end of the year. In my live yesterday, someone mentioned doing ARC August, and I might try to do a focus on reading some ARCs in NetGalley for August. That sounds like it would be really great. My 4th goal on here is to read 12 Christmas. It just says 12 Christmas. That means my Christmas book exchange books. So I have in here a list from the first 2 years from Sarah and Lindsay. And then last year we added Amanda into the mix. And so these are all the books that I've received. They're only highlighted every other one just to separate them. There's nothing about the orange, doesn't mean those are the ones I've read. I have little check marks on the side. So this year I've read only 4 of my Christmas book exchange books, which is not on track. It's not too far behind. We're in the 6th month, or we're in the 7th month now. We just did a 5-star predictions with our Christmas book exchange books, and I have 3 that I've chosen that I do plan on reading between July and August, and that will get me up to 7. And then if I just do 1 a month until the end of the year, I should be good with that goal. I should be good. We'll see. My next goal is 4 new authors. I chose 4 authors that I have 3 or more books of theirs on my shelves. And I've already read Billy Coffey and I've already read Heather Gutenkopf. So the other 2 that I would like to read before the end of the year are Jennifer Robson and Jennifer Ciavarini. That should be a very easy one to complete. I just have to read 1 book at least from each of those 2 authors. So I'm okay with that. I'm halfway through that goal. It's halfway through the year. I'm good with that. My next one was owned Catherine Ray. So I own 8 Catherine Ray books. I don't know if that's her whole catalog or not, but of the ones I own, I wanted to read all of them this year. And so far, I have read 4, and we're halfway through the year. That's half of my list. I read Dear Mr. Knightley, The Bronte Plot, Printed Letter Bookshop, and The London House. So I still have left to read The Portrait of Emily Price, Lizzie and Jane, The Austen Escape, and Of Literature and Lattes. So I'm really excited that I'm halfway through that goal as well. And my final written down goal is number 7, 6 months of no buying books. I'm not doing so great with this one. I have 2 months so far. In January and in May, I did not buy any books. That is not looking good as far as completing that goal. I mean, I have so many books on my shelves. July should have been a month to not buy books, but it's my birthday month. And I did receive a ton of books, but it's also my birthday month. So I'm going to buy books. It's just going to happen. Oh man. But 2 months, I could still have 4 more months where I don't buy anything, but it doesn't look likely. We'll see. We'll see how close I get to that goal. Then I just had a couple challenges that I have written down in here this year that I wanted to participate in. The first one I wanted to do was this A to Z challenge. And look, guys, it's almost completed. I need a K book, and I could count Keeper of the Lost Cities. And then it's like Keeper of the Lost Cities, flashback, Keeper of the Lost Cities, legacy. So I technically could count one of those for a K. I've read 4 of them. We'll see what happens by the end of the year. I need a Q. Q. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find a Q book. I'm not sure I'm going to go out of my way to find a Q book. Because, yeah, or X or Z. I only need 4 letters to go. K, Q, X, and Z. Part of me wants to find a book that matches those letters just to complete it and be done. But we'll see. I have 6 months still to go. We'll see what happens. Then I'm casually participating in Read Your Bookshelf Challenge. Also, the Buzzword Challenge. And I'm not doing these in the month that you're supposed to. I'm just hoping that by the end of the year, I have completed all 12 prompts. So far for the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge, I'm on track. So January was a quiet book, or like quiet was the prompt, and I did all the lonely people. I figured lonely kind of goes with quiet. February was love in the title. I read A Fine Romance, Falling in Love with the English Countryside. March was growth. I put ban this book because the young character in there really grows and learns to speak up for herself. You can interpret them any way you want to. April was my initials in the title, and I did my initials on the cover because it's really hard to find a K and a J together. I could find a J and an R because I'm KJR. I could find a J and an R, and I could find a K and an R, but a K and a J on the same page was tricky. But I did find 2. I just put Souls of Lost Lake by Jamie Jo Wright. There's a K in Lake, a J in Jamie and Joe, and then an R in Wright. Also, Under the Banner of Heaven by John Krakauer would have worked as well. All right, a new to you author. I included The 100 Years of Lenny and Margot by Marianne Cronin. I had never read anything by her before. June was book on the cover. I put Printed Letter Bookshop, which is by Catherine Ray. And July's prompt is one you've been avoiding but want to read. I put Perfect Little World, which was my oldest book of the month. I got it in 2017, and so I've been avoiding it. Obviously, we're 5 years later, and I hadn't read it yet, but I did want to. It lasted through multiple culls of my bookshelves, so I did want to read it, and it's now read. I've done it. So I'm on track with the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge. Oh, the next pages in here are my Bible reading tracker. I'm a little behind, to be honest, with that one, but the next reading challenge is the Buzzword Readathon, or like Buzzword Reading Challenge for 2022. And I am on track for this one. I have not yet completed July, but January was the 5 W's, and I read What the Wind Knows. February was pronouns. I read When You Trap a Tiger. March was locations. I read Family Under the Bridge. April is Big and Little. I read Small Great Things. May was directions. I read Left Neglected. And June was All. And I went back to a January book and put All the Lonely People. I think that might be the only book I've read this year that had all. I think I had been doing good reading the book that matched the prompt in the month. But for June, I had to go back to January for All the Lonely People. July's prompt is book-related words. And I could use Printed Letter Bookshop again, like I did on the other challenge, but I think the sequel to that is Of Literature and Lattes, and so it would be fun to read that one, get another sequel in there, and also complete that prompt. So I'm really doing great with my goals so far this year. I am on track with most of them. The 2 that I really need to focus on for the end of the year the 2 that I would like to focus on for the end of the year are Book of the Month books and my Christmas book exchange books. I feel like for series, I need 6 more. I'll get that. 2 new authors, I'll get that. Catherine Ray, I'm making good progress on. The ones I need to be intentional about, I should say, are Book of the Month and Christmas book exchange books. So that is my breakdown, my check-in on my goals for the year. Have you guys seen, I just have been putting stickers all over. I have some blank spots still to find some more stickers for, but I'm really liking how this is looking. And I will be able to use this at least for next year as well, because I have a ton of pages left. I am not someone who makes like month to month spreads, and I don't even finish. Like here's my middle grade March spread. I did really great with the books, but I would like to finish filling this out a little bit. I was going to keep track of my shelf spotlights, and I still could. I just need to sit down someday and do that. Oh, my patron picks for each month, and then my Patreon book club books. My mom bought me one of those little camera things that you can, or little printer, sticker printer, so I can print out the book covers. I'm going to do that on here, so I'm excited for that. I need to play around with it a little bit more, but that is a brief look at my reading journal, and also a check-in on my reading goals for the year. How are you guys doing with your reading goals? Do you have any that you really need to work on for the rest of the year? Need to. Again, with that word, I don't want to say need. That you would really like to work on for the end of the year. Let's chat goals down in the comments below. I always love talking with you down in the comments. That is why I'm here, making those connections, those bookish connections. I love it. So I hope to talk with you down in the comments. And thank you so much for watching today and taking the time to hang out with me. I really appreciate you being here, and I look forward to talking with you in another video very soon. Bye.